Especially people nowadays, a lot of people have big SUVs with loud horns, and they're sitting higher than the rest sedan or hatchbacks, and they're able to see four cars ahead. So they are honking for the person four car ahead of you. How that makes sense logically? Like, the person behind him is going to honk. The only person getting affected is the person right in front of you. Depending on what kind of project it is and in what kind of land zone it is, noise reduction is something that the architects take very seriously. So lime mortar used to be a standard mortar when it came to older buildings, maybe I would say 200 years ago. So Shaniwar Wada is a great example of lime mortar incorporation.
In the race to build higher, faster, and bigger, one thing that often gets buried in the concrete is silence. Our cities are getting louder, and construction is one of the leading sources of urban noise pollution. But what if architects could design with both aesthetics and acoustic responsibility in mind? Hello, and a warm welcome to Shorgul, a talk show by Nisarg Srishti Welfare Foundation, where we raise awareness, not noise. I am Neena Singh, the Environmental Project Head of Nisarg Srishti Welfare Foundation. And today we have with us a young dynamic voice from architecture and real estate world, Vatsal Singh. Vatsal is currently pursuing his MBA in Real Estate and Urban Infrastructure from RICS School of Built Environment and has a background in architecture from Pune University. He has worked on several high-impact projects including hospitals, oncology centers, public libraries across India and even abroad. A lead green associate and a passionate designer, he brings a unique blend of sustainability planning and social responsibility to his work. Let's welcome our guest, Mr. Vatsal Singh. Vatsal, welcome to Shorgul. We are extremely delighted to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I've been following the show. It's a great show. Getting to learn a lot.
Thank you so much. Vatsal, you have worked on diverse projects. So what drew you to explore noise pollution in architecture and urban planning?
So noise pollution is something I've been battling much before I entered into architecture and urban planning. It's something that I feel very close to me. It's something that I've tried to mitigate as much as I can from my life. I grew up in a very small town, then I moved to a bigger town, but in a relatively quiet area. So I've had the luxury of being away from noise a lot of times. And now in my adult life, I've spent majority of my adult life in cities. So I've started to miss those younger days, and automatically I've also come to realize during my architecture education the value of noise pollution and how important it is to reduce noise pollution for the habitants as well as the quality of life that gets affected if you do not do it, if you do not plan for it. So there has been a multifold sort of relationship that I've had with noise reduction and on a personal level as well as on a professional level.
Okay. So in your experience, how much attention is paid to noise management during the design and the construction phase? Or is it given importance or not?
Very, very much so actually. So depending on what kind of project it is and in what kind of land zone it is, noise reduction is something that we as designers, as architects, take very seriously. Something that we study extensively in our architecture school also. And slowly and steadily we're seeing the changes come up in the design briefs that we get from clients also, as in the clients are also getting mindful of these kind of things. And they want to be very particular about what kind of materials we are using, what kind of materials we are suggesting that will be helping in noise pollution control or noise pollution management. So I would say from an architect's perspective, it's very critical.
So as you mentioned about materials, so can you suggest which materials are more effective when it comes to absorbing or reducing sound in buildings or even the indoor residential spaces? Tell in some simple ways so that common people can also understand, not very technical.
There are two ways of doing it: greenfield and brownfield projects, which means greenfield is
Greenfield
basically a
and
new project.
can you repeat?
Brownfield
Greenfield.
and brownfield. So greenfield is basically a vacant plot, something you're doing absolutely new on a plot, and
Mhm.
brownfield would be an existing project that you are sort of making corrections or maybe redeveloping it entirely. So if I talk about greenfield, where you're doing a absolutely new construction,
Mhm.
the way to go would be orienting your walls, orienting your building in such a way that the majority of the openings are away from the source of noise pollution. So, for example, if your house is road facing, it would be recommended that the road facing walls be thicker. The windows should have double glazing, and these kind of sort of strategies could reduce the noise pollution of the structure. Coming to brownfield projects where the structure is already there or you're redeveloping your, in that kind of project, what I would recommend is maybe re-looking at the windows, the opening, because your walls are already done, I'm assuming, so you can't really do too much to change them. But your openings, you can check your openings. If it's a single glazed window and wooden frames, maybe you can switch to UPVC with double glazing. And double glazing is basically there are two glass panes. In between there is a vacuum, sorry, not vacuum, there's a gas, if I'm not wrong. And it's supposed to give you extra insulation in your window openings. And these are just some of the strategies that come off the top of my head. It would be recommended that if you're doing a new construction, for example, places like Rajasthan, we have seen a lot of local natural stone usage. This is something that really reduces the noise pollution, although Rajasthan itself is not a very loud place. It's very sporadically hit. But similarly, if we were to bring in certain stone construction, especially for smaller structures, if we can, it'll be great. That would be a good start.
You mentioned stones. In this regard, I would just ask that lime mortar at one point of time it was a lot of it was used in constructions, but nowadays it has become almost an extinct technique. So, are these material any of advantage in terms of acoustic or environmental sustainability?
So lime mortar used to be a standard mortar when it came to older buildings, maybe I would say 200 years ago. And all the big havelis, you are based out of Pune, so Shaniwar Wada is a great example of lime mortar incorporation.
Okay.
Similarly, there are vernacular techniques, vernacular strategies, traditional strategies that you can utilize. Lime mortar being one of them. Yes, it has a higher absorption than cement because the amount of air cavities, pockets in between your mortar is lesser in lime mortar, so it is able to absorb the noise better than standard cement mortar wall. So basically, your walls, if they are made out of plus lime mortar, they will be as quiet as possible, as physically possible. If you use standard bricks with lime mortar, even then noise pollution reduction will be better than what it would be with normal bricks and cement mortar.
Okay, that was really insightful. So, how can modern architecture achieve a balance between the contemporary needs and sustainable, traditional sustainable techniques, particularly in densely populated urban areas?
So, one of the first things that clients can do, and they've started doing already, is trying to build what they actually need and not what they think they want or they might need. Some people, in an effort to future proof, they try to overbuild, which tends to hamper their quality of life at later stages. So one of the first suggestions I would give would be to build smaller, a little smaller. Other than that, understand and educating yourself about your usage. So houses are a long-term investment. Once built, they are built. So embodied carbon is what is the amount of carbon spent in building that, constructing that building.
Can you elaborate it? What is it?
Embodied carbon is basically, if you have 10,000 bricks at your home, that brick was manufactured somewhere, there was a lot of carbon emission there, then it was logistics involved, then it's transported to your site, right?
Right.
So that truck or ship, whatever, however it is getting to your site, it is also emitting a lot of carbon. So a lot of these materials, similarly cement also has a high amount of embodied carbon in certain areas, and these kind of things cumulatively create the embodied carbon of any material. So these kind of things are a sort of a one-time investment, and once you are building, other than embodied carbon, everyday usage is what dictates the level of sustainability you can gain with that structure. So just being educated, just understanding your waste management better, reducing your waste, planning your buildings in such a way that you can reduce air conditioning and ways to recharge natural groundwater supply, or if there are other ways of reusing your own water that you're creating on site, or rather receiving on site through rain. These kind of activities, these kind of strategies can have a long lasting effect, and cumulatively, independently they might seem like very small contributions, but cumulatively together they will have a huge impact in the long run.
Of course. So in what ways can urban zoning and planning help control or reduce noise pollution?
I think before we get to urban planning and urban policy level, we need to understand educating our users is also of need. I can get you the best infrastructure that is possible. I can have like the highest quality of materials that are available in the market involved in your project. But if you're not educated enough how to use that property properly, how to reduce your own impact on the nature, it'll never be useful. But considering you asked about the policy level, I would say one of the first things that comes to my mind is, so our cities, our urban local bodies, every city, every town has a master plan, and these master plans are drafted for 20 years in advance. So it will be a 2021 master, 2041 master plan. So something that we can start considering in this rapidly changing urban landscape is certain cities, certain areas should consider having 5-year master plans or 10-year master plan with a review at 5 years. And something else is, as of right now, we do consult our public a lot whenever it comes down to these kind of policy changes, but a lot of it is for optics. It's a lot of it is just optics. So something I think from an urban planning perspective, something we can learn from the Japanese structure is they really value the local input. In that area, nobody understands the area as well as the residents do, people who actually live and use the spaces. So one of the first things I would say would be to sort of involve the public more in these kind of things. There is a risk of slowing down already very slow process of urban planning, so that is something that the government needs to speed up. There is a lot of bottlenecking happening from the government side, a lot of red tape. As you know, India mein to everywhere there is red tape. So a lot of things need to speed up while incorporating a digital infrastructure for the users, for the citizens to give their input, their feedback, which can be rapidly incorporated in the upcoming plans.
Okay. So means we can say that whatever policies are made or considered during planning process, it is very important that the local people, the residents, the citizens, they also be very actively, they should contribute to create quieter and better planned urban spaces. They have a great input.
Their feedback is the critical insight that you would get as a designer, as a planner. And then eventually people tend to think that because of modern technology, because of Google Earth and Google Maps, you can design for anywhere, anytime, just looking at the satellite images. But that's just not the case. You have to live there, you have to experience the place to actually understand what that area requires.
Correct. So you have been involved in hospital designs as well. So how critical silence in such environments is when you are doing the interiors or construction phase, and how much consideration goes into the acoustic planning there?
So from standard noise levels, acceptable noise level in a residential area is about 50 to 50 decibels. But for a healthcare facility, this comes down to 30 to 35 decibels, which is in Indian context very hard to maintain. So automatically things that are external to your site are out of your control, so automatically your priority becomes what is already what you can control. Strategies that we used to incorporate used to be certain specialized drywall panels that used to have high sound absorption and high sound reflection indexes, coefficients. And similarly, the ceiling panels that we used in our fall ceiling used to be very absorbing, and we tried to create as much sort of inherent sound absorption of the spaces, so that the noise created in one room stays in that room and it's not passed on to adjacent spaces.
So nowadays, what is your experience? Are the clients more open to conversation around sound conscious designs?
Architects, majority of them are interested in getting the maximum area they can get. Basically, their priority is to get as much built up as they can get, and they will prioritize space and luxury over everything else. You will see this pattern everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's South India, it's Delhi, it's common everywhere. But 2 out of every 10, maybe 20%, let's say, of clients do come up with these kind of design briefs where they are mindful. These kind of people have really explored life for us, and they have really good understanding the kind of space they require, and automatically in this process they become very environmentally conscious also.
Right.
So these kind of clients, yes, they are very environmentally conscious, and they do give us a brief that is the opportunity to design as early as we can.
So before we wrap up, what message would you like to share with our audience? How can common people contribute to control noise pollution?
I have lived across India from north to south. I've lived in a lot of different places, all the major cities that you can think of: Delhi, Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore. I've been in Chennai, everywhere. And something that is consistent across the nation, small town, big town, villages, it doesn't matter, is the incessant honking. The peak of this problem is in NCR. You will not experience this kind of noise anywhere in the world. And one of the first things I could recommend, I could request, if it was in my power, I would have demanded also, threatened also, but it's not, sadly. So I have to resort to requesting, is not to honk unnecessarily. And this incessant honking, even when there is inherently this honking is not going to help the situation, but just because you're hearing it from behind, or because the traffic is not moving, you're just honking. And if you stop that person to ask why did you honk, kya mila, what did you get from that 1 second of honking, he won't be able to answer you. And I have done this exercise. I've asked people, dude, kya mila, what did you get out of that honking? Nothing. Especially people nowadays, a lot of people have big SUVs with loud horns, and they're sitting higher than the rest sedan or hatchbacks, and they're able to see 3 or 4 cars ahead. So they are honking for the person 4 car ahead of you. How does that make sense logically? Like, the person behind him is going to honk. The only person getting affected is the person right in front of you. All you are doing is just making life harder for these pedestrians, for these two-wheeler riders. Just stop honking unnecessarily, and let's take it step by step.
How do you see the institutions like Nisarg Srishti Welfare Foundation, like we are working with, and we are trying to contribute to creating awareness around noise pollution? So how do you think that are these things going to help? And give some suggestions, how can our campaigns become more impactful and far-reaching?
If Nisarg Foundation can start, pitching certain ideas, certain courses, quick courses or quick workshops to schools, 6th to 8th, 9th levels of students, where students have grown enough to understand the world around them, and yet are malleable enough to be taught new skills and new important concepts. So that would be great.
Thank you so much, Vatsal, for your bringing your insights, ideas, and of course your youthful energy to Shorgul. And it's really inspiring to see the next generation of architects thinking beyond buildings and caring about those buildings, how they sound like, not what they just look like. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Remember, cities aren't just built with concrete and steel. They are shaped by values. And silence too is a value. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And if you are a builder, a planner, a student, or a city dweller, passionate about creating positive change in society, but unsure where to begin, join hands with us. You can contribute as a volunteer, become a goodwill ambassador, be a part of a core team, or support us through donations. Every step you take brings us closer to a quieter, healthier, and more conscious world. Let's create a soundscape worth living in. This is Neena Singh signing off from Shorgul. Till we meet again. Stay happy, stay healthy, and let's silence the noise for a better tomorrow. Thank you.